let's take a closer look at the magic trash activity. You'll begin by reading the story to students. It's about an artist who lived in a neighborhood where it was a little bit run down and people were a little bit discouraged about their neighborhood. It didn't have a really great reputation. And so he used his art in order to make his neighborhood beautiful. He would paint rundown buildings and decorate it to where it was bright and colorful and cheerful. And so as you're reading the story, you can pause and have students notice any shapes that they see within Tyree's art. So then the students are going to create a work of art on their own using different two-dimensional shapes. Different grade levels will be given different sets of criteria to follow in order to build their piece of art. So they're going to be making essentially a piece of stained glass using some press and seal and some tissue paper. But for kindergarten and first grade, they're expected to include 3 triangles, a circle, 4 rectangles, and every grade level at the end will complete a display card for their piece of art to explain the different geometric shapes that are on their piece of art in order to make sure that everyone that sees it really appreciates it. Second and third grade have a little bit more specific criteria in that they need to include 3 shapes that have 3 sides and 3 vertices, 2 shapes that are not polygons, and 4 quadrilaterals that all have different attributes. So if you haven't yet seen the Analyzing Relationships video, I highly recommend that you go watch that, because that's going to help you understand the different relationships and different attributes that students are exploring about two-dimensional shapes. But essentially, we want to encourage students to think about some of the different shapes that could fit those different criteria. For example, even the younger students, if they're including rectangles, they could also include a square, because technically a square fits the criteria of a rectangle. It's simply a special rectangle that we call a square because all of the sides are the same length. Okay, but what students will do, they will take the shape cards and use those as stencils to trace their shape onto a piece of tissue paper. So they'll trace it, cut it out, and then they'll place their tissue paper shape onto the sticky side of the press and seal in order to make their work of art. When students are finished, that sticky side is kind of removable. So if you had a window or something, you could display them. But students could then, at the bottom, once they finish their display card that explains all about their piece of art, they can attach it to the bottom of their artwork. So then it's like a full display that explains the different shapes, what attributes they have, and people can see the piece of art that students created. Now, as students are working, be sure to walk around and discuss the different attributes of the shapes, such as how many vertices do they have, how many sides do they have. Older students can look at whether they are acute, right, or obtuse angles, and they can make sure, as you're talking with them, kind of help them make sure that they're including all of the proper criteria.